The Wall Street Journal just revealed shocking information. The WNBA faces a potentially disastrous situation. The probe suggests that the league's handling of Caitlin Clark may be unlawful, in addition to being bad PR. If their predictions are correct, the impact on women's basketball might destabilize the league structure. The Wall Street Journal highlighted the league's antitrust exemption as the most serious concern. Currently, the WNBA has legal protections that allow for monopolistic domination. If Congress decides a privilege has been abused, they can revoke it. If this occurs, the Women's Professional Basketball League in the U.S. may lose its structure, control, and perhaps existence. However, when the numbers were compared to reality, a different picture emerged. Since Caitlin Clark's injury, the Indiana Fever have started winning. Furthermore, the physicality of the game has significantly decreased. Without Clark on the court, the game becomes more basketball-like, with fewer elbows and cheap shots. That is not speculation. That is measurable. Why does it only become violent when she plays? The Wall Street Journal refers to it as selective enforcement, a term commonly used by lawyers. Civil rights attorneys are educated to pursue such cases. Despite video evidence, injury data, and public remarks, no suspensions have been issued for some of the most dangerous plays. Viewership, app engagement, and salon merch sales increased by 366%, 613%, and 601%. These are not simply statistics, they are lifelines. Clark is bringing the WNBA into the mainstream eye. Why does it feel like the league sees her as a problem rather than a valuable asset? The tale progresses from serious to potentially disastrous. The Wall Street Journal article expressed more than just reservations. It explored legal precedents. In the 1981 decision of Texas Department of Community Affairs versus Birding, the court determined that if an employee can demonstrate symptoms of disparate treatment, the burden of proof changes. If Clark can show that she has been treated differently, the WNBA must prove that they do not discriminate. The league is facing legal action due to proof of discriminatory treatment, without the need for a smoking gun or concealed conspiracy. Sheila Johnson, owner of the Washington Mystics, believes Caitlin Clark did not deserve Time's Athlete of the Year on her own. That wasn't just badly advised. Legally, this remark can be used as evidence in court. Legendary broadcaster Dick Vitale described it as plain jealousy. Jealousy and influence might be considered hostile under the law. The next move was particularly perplexing. Caitlin Clark, the most well-known and financially significant player in the sport, was left off the U.S. Olympic roster. What message does this send? The combination of harsh hits, league silence, and dismissive leadership comments suggests retaliation rather than unfortunate luck. This is exactly how lawyers create discrimination lawsuits. They do not see solitary events. They identify patterns of exclusion and neglect. However, this is when things take a drastic turn. This dispute transcends basketball and courtrooms. It's headed right to Capitol Hill. Senator Jim Banks has formally requested answers from WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert over Caitlin Clark's treatment. Involving Congress in your league's operations is more than simply a PR issue. Political earthquakes are preceded by thunderous events. The Wall Street Journal article suggests probable congressional hearings. Imagine this. Engelbert and NBA Commissioner Adam Silver may have to explain why the league's biggest player is being regarded as a target in front of a global audience. This would not only generate headlines, but also dominate them. However, for the WNBA, this is not the desired viral moment. It gets even deeper. If the Labor Department intervenes, workplace safety laws fall under federal control. If investigators determine that the league failed to prioritize Clark's health and safety, the issue will no longer be a sporting topic. That is a federal violation. If the Department of Justice's Civil Rights section looks into widespread prejudice in the WNBA, it might be game over. These are the same individuals who demolish corrupt institutions. They do not worry about TV deals. They value rights, safety, and accountability. The Wall Street Journal posed the ultimate threat, the league's antitrust exemption. Currently, the WNBA has legal protections that allow for monopolistic domination. If Congress decides a privilege has been abused, they can revoke it. If this happens, The foundation of women's professional basketball in the U.S. may collapse. The league's organization, control, and existence took on a dramatic twist with reality. We've already identified the pattern. When Clark sits out, the game shifts. Lawyers would consider this a case study in selective enforcement. Why does she engage in violent behavior during play? The Wall Street Journal refers to selective enforcement by its formal name. Civil rights attorneys relentlessly hunt evidence like this. Despite video evidence, injury data, and public pronouncements, there have been no suspensions for the most dangerous plays. Remember Marina Maberry's hit? That wasn't a defense. The situation escalated from competitive to dangerous. Nobody blinked. DJ Carrington nearly ended Clark's career before it ever started. How many more hits must Caitlin Clark take before the WNBA admits there is a problem? This is not a rumor. This is not gossip. The Wall Street Journal is a publication with high stakes and careful writing. The discussion of civil rights breaches in women's basketball shifts the focus of the topic away from athletics. Let's examine the hard facts. Caitlin Clark's performances captivate audiences. Ratings drop when she doesn't perform. It is that simple. The WNBA will likely prioritize her as their most important asset. Instead, they have treated her as an annoyance or even a threat. They not only ignored the commercial argument for safeguarding her, but also damaged it. Merchandise sales increased by over 600%, app engagement increased significantly, and TV ratings skyrocketed. That is not hype. Clark brought in revenue that the league did not have previously. How did they respond? Not with celebration, increased security, or public support. Instead, she remained silent while being hacked, wounded, and sidelined. The WNBA faces a significant risk at this point. The Wall Street Journal is urging government agencies to investigate the league's internal communications, including emails, notes, and text messages. If investigators uncover a single correspondence that suggests the league attempted to manipulate Clark, minimize her importance, or belittle her influence, it may be a smoking gun. A single error in a federal case can have far-reaching consequences. We've seen it happen before in Title IX conflicts, college athletics, and billion-dollar corporate litigation. If the federal government finds that the WNBA violated civil rights laws, a fine may not be sufficient. The outcome might be drastic. The antitrust exemption is fragile and can be revoked by Congress if public and government trust is lost. Caitlin Clark's popularity crosses party lines, creating a rare nonpartisan issue in Washington. Without these protections, the WNBA would be forced to compete with other businesses. Without a legal cover, the foundation may be vulnerable. This is the reality. We don't need to imagine what is happening. We are monitoring the situation live. Clark's presence on the court transforms the game into a war. When she's not present, the elbows and flagrant fouls disappear, leaving only basketball. That's not a coincidence. Civil rights advocates seek evidence. Remember Marina Maberry's hit? That was not defense. The situation escalated from competitive to dangerous. Nobody blinked. The DJ Carrington foul nearly ended Clark's career before it started. This is not hazing or harsh play for rookies. This is a civil rights issue, a workplace safety crisis, and potentially a federal prosecution. The Wall Street Journal has shifted the Caitlin Clark story from a sports scandal to a potential legal disaster for the WNBA. When government agencies, Congress, and national media all sound the same alarm, it's no longer speculation. This is a countdown. The WNBA faces a deadline. Will Caitlin Clark ever get the protection she deserves? Will the league be held accountable, or will it all end in court? Please share your opinions in the comments and like the video if you think this subject needs more attention. Subscribe for exclusive content, including in-depth investigations, bold truths, and stories not covered by mainstream media.